B&M is one of the most innovative manufacturers to date. They currently have 9 coaster models, and all of them are really good in their own way. But one coaster from each model is usually done better than the rest. And so today, I wanted to talk about the best coaster for each B&M model. Hey guys, welcome to Coaster Journey. And like all people, I have my own unique opinions, and so you might not agree with everything I say. So make sure to leave your different opinions in the comments below. Also, I just wanted to say, I haven't ridden all the B&Ms, so I'm going to decide on the best coaster from each model by watching the POVs and hearing other people's opinions on the coasters. But anyways, let's dive straight into it. The first model we'll be looking at is the Wing Coaster, and my pick for the best wing coaster has got to be Wuxi Sonic Land's very own Soaring with Eagle. Now you may have not heard of this ride. If you haven't, you are in for quite the pleasant surprise. Everything from its wing overdrop to its final break one looks very well executed. The inversions look like they give insanely good hang time, and unlike a lot of wing coasters, this ride isn't really just inversions. It has a lot of turns through rockwork theming and a massive overbang turn. But the main two things that made me choose this ride are its amazing theming and absolutely hang time filled inline twist at the end. This ride has some really impressive rockwork theming for a park you've never heard of. You soar in and out of these massive and impressive rockwork structures, but that inline twist. I am a sucker for hang time, and so this element looks like the best element on the ride easily. And everything combined with this amazing element really makes this an easy pick for me. The next model we'll be looking at is the Dive Machine, and the coaster I chose is Yukon Striker. This was a really easy pick for me. The elements on this ride look insanely well done. Also, it feels like they just said, how do you make a B&M dive coaster drop better? You just make it under a pond. Seriously, this was really genius for this ride. The inversions are insanely well done and well chosen. My one nitpick about this ride though is when the mid-course hits, your hopes and dreams of a good second half are shattered. The mid-course almost slows you to a stop. You get off a drop of the mid-course, which look actually pretty good, but then you just go into a helix. This is really disappointing because after such a good ride, the ending just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But still, the first half is so good that I just had to choose Yukon Striker for the best B&M dive. The third model we'll be talking about is, in most people's opinions, the worst model B&M has ever made, the Standup. My choice for the best stand-up is Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Considering how many of these stand-ups didn't get good feedback, it's nice to have one that isn't absolutely despised. This coaster packs 6 inversions into its 4,370 feet of track, which makes for a really nice and kind of long experience. And this ride seems to be pretty intense and forceful. The inversions look like a blast, with the 124 feet tall vertical loop looking like the best element on the ride. It seems to have really good hang time. This ride's layout is really weird, in the best way possible. Some of the elements on this ride are 2 corkscrews and 2 dive loops, and apparently, these elements are executed really well, so good thing you get to experience them twice. But the reason most people hate stand-up coasters is not because of their layouts, but because of their roughness and pain. Riddler's Revenge doesn't seem to have much of that. If anything, the stand-up trains actually add to the experience. The only really bad thing about this ride is the color scheme. Why did they repaint it? I loved the green and black, but the yellow and green is horrendous. But other than that, this ride seems pretty incredible. The fourth B&M model we'll be talking about is the Inverted Coaster. And my pick for the best inverted coaster is Osiris at Park Asterix. Another ride you might not have heard of. This ride looks amazing due to its phenomenal pacing and amazing airtime moments with 5 inversions sprinkled in there. This ride has an Egyptian themed, and it reminds me very much of Montu, just a little bit better. I think that Montu has better inversions and Osiris is better at basically everything else. The drop looks amazing and strongly reminds me of a smaller version of Banshee's first drop. This ride's layout after the drop is really odd and really sudden. A lot of elements of this ride are very oddly shaped, and at a couple points in the ride, the train just dips down into a trench at a very fast pace. But the main thing that threw me over is the amazing theming. I am a sucker for theming, and so this ride looks like it would be my kind of ride. It is themed after the comic book character Asterix, and in this ride, you encounter Osiris, who is an Egyptian sorcerer. Once you get into the queue, you encounter 4 Egyptian-style rooms that put you under Osiris's command. He apparently turns you into a bird and controls you. This is a really good story for a ride. If you want to hear more about this amazing ride, check out CoasterBot's video about Osiris. It will be linked in the description below. This ride might not be your cup of tea though. If you prefer whippy inversions, you might like something like Montu or Nemesis. The 5th model we'll be looking at is the Flying Coaster. And my pick for the best B&M flyer is the one and only Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan. This ride looks insanely amazing. This ride looks like one of the best of B&M's inverting focus coasters. Starting off with an incredibly steep drop, this ride is aggressive till the brake run. These rides inversions look surprisingly snappy for a 2016 B&M, and well picked. The best inversion being the first one, which is I have no idea. It looks like a 0G roll into half a pretzel loop. RCDB calls this a fly to lie, which is fancy. And after doing this insanely trippy element, you go into an actual pretzel loop. I really hope B&M incorporates these kind of creative elements into more of their new flying coasters. After the pretzel loop, you go into a pretty slow inline twist that's sure to fulfill your hang time needs. Then, you go into a helix, and another slow inline twist. See what I mean when I say these rides inversions are good? The layout plus flying coaster trains plus universal theming is sure to be one of the best B&M coaster experiences to date. The 6th B&M model we'll be deciding on is the B&M Hyper, and my pick for this one is the 249-foot Hyper at Portaventura, Shambhala. This ride is pretty darn incredible. Everything from its astounding first 156-foot drop to its massive airtime hills are done to perfection. The color scheme is also on point, earning the honor of my favorite coaster color scheme. But this ride has everything you want in a B&M Hyper. Enslaved floater? Check. Some ejector? Check because of the speed hill. A turnaround that isn't boring? Check. A splashdown? Check. A good setting? Check. Theming? Check, 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 check. The theme on this ride is an expedition to the Himalayas, which is pretty cool. Another thing this ride did really well is making sure that all hills deliver. There's only one trimmed hill, which is a speed hill, and I hate to say it, but this trim is well needed. The ejector would be a little too aggressive. And, based on the POVs and other people's opinions, you still get absolutely great ejector. This ride does have a mid-course, and the ride doesn't do much after that, but you win some, you lose some. One random thing I love about this ride is the fact that there's a tunnel at the bottom of the first drop. I love tunnels, especially at the bottom of first drops, so it's cool to see one on, in my opinion, the best hyper in the world. What's not to love about this ride? It's amazing, and I really hope I get to ride it someday. Next up is the Floorless coaster. And this was a really hard decision for me, but I ended up deciding that the best Floorless was Superman Krypton Coaster. This ride would not be the same if the quarry wall was not there. I would say this probably wouldn't be my pick if the quarry wall wasn't there, and it's amazing. This ride also has some amazing inversions, such as a vertical loop, 0G roll, a cobra roll, and interlocking corkscrews. These inversions have a pretty good variety, and you get some hang time with the vertical loop, some whip with the 0G roll and cobra roll, and some smooth, graceful inversions with those corkscrews. And these inversions, with some nice transitions and a quarry wall, makes for an amazing ride. But this ride might not be your favorite. You might prefer some other Floorlesses, and if you don't really care about interaction with terrain, then you might prefer almost any different Floorless. But you gotta admit, this ride is really tall for a Floorless at a staggering 168 feet high. Also, you gotta love the Superman statue at the top of the vertical loop. And this The amazing inversions and the color scheme to go with the massive quarry wall makes for one amazing Floorless. The second to last B&M model is the B&M Giga. Now this is a really obvious one. I ended up choosing Leviathan for the best B&M Giga. Talk about the best B&M ever, just kidding. My real choice for the best B&M Giga is Fury 325 at Carowinds. This ride is a graceful, fast-paced beast of a coaster. Though its color scheme is pretty weird, it is a great ride. It has one of the most graceful and beautiful elements ever, being the triple clef, especially because of the fact that it dives under the pathway. This ride is the definition of a full package. It's got G's, it's got airtime, it's got scenic elements, it's got whippy elements. I could go on. But man, this ride has some really good element choices. The turnaround on this ride seems as well done as it can get. The reason being because it actually have airtime, which is really uncommon with B&M turnarounds. And also, it's, as I said, it's really scenic. I haven't ridden Fury, so I can only imagine banking over the massive pathways, seeing all those people from hundreds of feet in the air, diving up and down towards the earth and away from it. It also has a great mix of low-to-the-ground elements and massive elements, but the thing that this ride does best is its banking. This is pretty uncommon for B&Ms, but this ride is really well done with its banking and throws you around a bit. Most of the hills on this ride are banked, which is again, very impressive for B&M. This ride is truly one of B&M's best. The final B&M model we'll be looking at is the sit-down model. The ride I chose for the best sit-down is Kumba at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride is insanely ahead of its time. Kumba, which means roar in African Congo language, opened in April 1993. That was 28 years ago, and it still holds up as the best sit-down. This ride packs 7 smooth inversions in its 3,978 feet of track. This ride looks insanely amazing as well. The color scheme is surprisingly slick. The orange complements the cool blue track so well. And this ride, with the yellow train ripping through the interlocking corkscrews, looks amazing. This ride also has an amazing vertical loop through the lift hill, and I love when vertical loops are through the lift hill. Who doesn't? May I add that this vertical loop looks like it actually provides hang time with a scenic view. And after going into this 114-foot vertical loop, you go into a dive loop that leads into an insanely smooth transition into a 0G roll. This 0G roll looks really well done. It has whip, and it's kind of weirdly shaped. After this nice inversion, you take a old school fast-paced B&M transition into a Cobra roll. This Cobra roll looks really fast-paced and smooth. I'm not sure if it is smooth, but it definitely looks smooth for a Cobra roll. Next, you go into the mid-course and slow down. Ended up going in 2 interlocking corkscrews. These corkscrews are the main part of Kumba. When you look up Kumba Busch Gardens at Google, almost all of the results are pictures of the interlocking corkscrews. This ride looks really complete, and it definitely earns the honor of the best B&M sit-down. That will sum it up for the best coaster for every B&M model. Tell me your thoughts in the video comments below, and tell me if you disagree with any of my picks. And while you're down there, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to see more content. We're really close to 100 subs, which is pretty awesome. Anyways, this has been Coaster Journey, and I'll catch you in the next one.